Let's podcast alongside Demetri Ravanos.
Oh, hi, everybody.
I'm Joe Ovies. Giglio is on assignment today. Assignment being golf.
Take a goddamn break.
Hey, man, that too.
Yeah.
I've been out of... My last 2 weeks have been dumb, and we'll get to that in a Hey Joe.
I've been called a lot.
Yeah, you're in the bullpen.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, we'll get to that in a Hey Joe because I got an amusing Hey Joe reference that speaks near and dear to my old school radio heart.
Okay.
But we get things started with golf, something that's completely in our wheelhouse, Demetri.
Do we have to start with golf?
Actually, yes. It's funny. Caleb, my 17-year-old, came back from guitar lessons, and he's seeing me watching the Masters with Rory. Right, it was pretty compelling. It's funny. I started watching it. Rory does the double bogey right out of the gate. And of course, everybody's having this like, no, Rory, because he's got a long history of this, which kind of ties into the story of why yesterday was pretty cool to watch. And Rory said after the final round, when he was talking to Jim Nantz, that it was good for him to just do that right out of the gate because it woke his ass up. Like, hey, man, like it can't get any worse than this.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Of course, it can always get worse because he did put it in the drink at one time. Of course, he misses a putt to win it on 18 after a pretty good bunker shot. And of course, it goes to the overtime format. You're thinking he's cooked because of all the demons.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of like laying down the line of why all of this is pretty compelling storylines, pretty compelling sports. I think Alex Kirshner over at Slate and Split Zone Duo said that this might be the best sports like event or like how it all played out in recent memory, at least in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So Caleb just kind of is like, why are you watching golf? I was like, man, I watch golf 3 times a year. The Masters is one of them.
What are the other two?
I mean, I usually watch the U.S. Open.
Why?
Because it's a major.
Oh, just because it's a major.
Just because it's a major.
To me, I thought you were like giving me specific scenarios or environments in which golf is enjoyable.
I'll watch a major.
Okay.
I'll watch a major or something like that. But it's not like I don't gamble on golf. So shout out to Giglio. So I'm not sitting here compelled. I did ask Giglio last week, like, what's the weekend that more men tell their families to F off? Is it Masters weekend or is it week 0 of the college football season going into the NFL?
Oh, you mean like actual legit week 1?
Yes.
Like that week before the NFL starts. Ooh,
yeah.
That's a good question.
Because, football is back on TV. Clear my schedule. All the antiquing that I did by force. I'm out.
All that fun I had.
Sorry that I saw you, family. We went on vacation, but now it's football time.
I do think there is a cultural marriage to the idea of all football.
Yeah.
I think overshadows the Masters.
I think the Masters, because even Kelly was saying, she's like, yeah, I actually like the Masters on television from an ASMR perspective.
See, I think Kelly is being more honest than most people that say they like the Masters.
Why?
I don't think anybody likes the Masters any more than any other golf event. You just wish you were better at yard work.
I mean, look, those azaleas pop on television.
I'm not saying they don't. Now, I will tell you.
Okay.
Having grown up in Mobile, Alabama, the Azalea City, I'm not overly impressed by Augusta National for that reason.
I see.
That being said,
see.
Yes, it's very green. Yes, the trees are great. I don't get why all of you sitting at home on your couch have a fucking boner for the pimento cheese. You're not getting it.
It's because it's the price.
Again, you're not taking advantage of the price.
Yeah.
So why do I care? And here's the part that I want everyone to acknowledge. Like, because when I say it, you're going to push back, but I'm right.
All right.
The jacket is fucking ugly.
That's not the point.
The jacket is garbage.
That's
to
not
compare, when people have this debate, the dumb sports media debate, greater individual sports honor, Masters, Heisman, or Olympic gold medal.
Oh, okay.
How on earth do you put a jacket in with the other two?
I see. Well, because
that thing is getting lost.
No. The reason why it enters the debate, and I completely understand, is because it is part of, there's only so many individual awards that you can achieve out there.
Right.
So you can't put it on the level, Masters green jacket or Super Bowl trophy. Well, you don't get to take the Super Bowl trophy home. All right. Gold medals are unique. They're individual. They're yours. The green jacket, I don't know if it's necessarily that the look of the jacket is what people are getting all excited
I feel
about.
like if
it's the
you
fact
won,
that you need, it's like even the Hall of Fame jacket's terrible. The NFL Hall of Fame jacket's terrible, but it signifies that you're in a club that others are not. That's all it is.
I would say better than the Masters jacket.
It's like I look at those Supreme outfits that kids wear, and they're
Oh, sure.
Gross. They are ugly, and yet they're expensive. So therefore, it's a
for 1
symbol.
year. I want the Masters to switch from a jacket to the Chris Jericho spangle button-up shirt.
But you do hit on something that that I find kind of interesting, and I'm sure it's going to play out this way, or at least today on the national sports media scene. Because I'm jotting all this stuff down about the Masters, and Caleb asked me, like, why am I watching? I mean, the main reason why I watched, throw away the whole look.
Yeah. You want to know the narrative.
I want to know the narrative, and the narrative actually came through. Like,
okay,
it delivered.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, it absolutely delivered in the sense of the drama. Rory won in the most Rory way possible.
Yeah.
Where it was agonizing pain. I mean, heck, right down to the memes. I know you're not logged into the StreamYard to see this, but like CJ Folger put the CBS clip. When CBS did an amazing job of getting out of the way and just letting Rory walk from the 18th green to the clubhouse speak for itself. And it became an instant meme. It's like, I saw my favorite one is like when you send that risky text and she replies, like when it's 2 a.m. and the you up text is responded to when you're leaving the bar, like all that kind of stuff. Like you're seeing all these things. Like when that'll be me, this whole thing of Rory walking down, crying, going through all stages of emotion will be me at 3 a.m. when I'm up trying to get a Nintendo Switch 2 pre-order it.
Right.
Tariffs aside. So it provided everything you're looking for in terms of a sporting event, right? But rather than finding yourself in the, man, this is really cool, let's tell the story, we find ourselves in a situation where national sports media can't tell you the story anymore. They cannot get into the layers of this, whether it's the fact that it's the first Grand Slam winner in 25 years, the fact that it took him 11 cracks at this to be a career Grand Slam winner.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, like he's the 6th now.
Mm-hmm.
And it took him 11 tries, and some of these have come up in excruciating ways. So he's got his own demons that he's playing through. And then, to a certain extent, you do have like a little bit of a live PGA thing going on, to the fact that Rory has been very outspoken about live golf.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Look, man,
he's one of the like investors in this like not live golf thing, right?
Yeah, it's the golf league thing, the virtual golf league thing that Tiger's a part of. Dude, if you don't believe me, man, like I'm not, again, I've said this plenty of times, I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter these days. I'm trying to spend less time on social media platforms. I still need it for work, obviously, but in my dead time, I'm going to try to do some other stuff. But on Sunday, man, I forgot how unhinged Twitter is. There is this account called Live Golf Nation.
Okay.
And they had tweeted out earlier in the day, this was on Saturday night, actually. When you watch the post-round interviews for Bryson DeChambeau and Rory McIlroy, two things become clear. Bryson is the last person Rory wants to be playing with, and Rory is exactly who Bryson wants to be paired with. Bryson craves the moment. Rory wants to stay in the bubble. This got put on my radar because of Old Takes Exposed.
Okay.
I was like, okay, yeah, that's the classic Old Takes Exposed. So I'm like, well, who the hell is Live Golf Nation? Is this like an actual Live Golf account? No. The description reads, pro-Trump Live Golf fan page, covering all things golf related, not affiliated with Live Golf League. I'm like, oh my goodness, what else is on this page?
Scroll down to, first of all, the pinned tweet.
Here's one of them. The choice has never been more clear. You're either with America and Bryson DeChambeau, or you're with Rory McIlroy and the communists. What? Okay. And then there's another one.
More like Live Golf News Nation.
Exactly. Bryson DeChambeau owns Rory. He takes an absolutely comical exchange between Bryson DeChambeau and Rory McIlroy related to the U.S. Open.
I'd like to go up against Bryson to try to get him back for what he did to me at the U.S. Open.
To be fair, you kind of did it to yourself.
It's a good back and forth.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Okay. That's just good sportsmanship. That's just enjoy. But no. See, Bryson, the live guy.
Right.
Rory, the anti-live guy. And we're going to make this a thing, baby.
The Live Golf Nation Twitter account, their pinned tweet is John Daly explaining golf to Tucker Carlson as he makes his confused puppy face about everything. But if you scroll down, and here's the thing, I think people that listen or read our stuff, like I'm not shy about where I stand.
Sure.
So people know. However, It only took 5 tweets for me to get to something that's like, this guy's got a point.
What was the point?
Jim Nance is overrated.
Yeah.
Jim Nance is actively bad at everything but golf.
Yeah. One other note about Bryson DeChambeau and Rory McIlroy. Apparently, Rory did not. So this is from Chase Daniel, who's part of Fox Sports. Rory didn't say a word to Bryson DeChambeau all day long. Is this normal? Wild. And then here's the
No idea.
You speak to him in there. How's he doing? Do you know?
No idea. Didn't talk to me once all day.
Did you try and initiate conversation with Rory at all?
He wouldn't talk to me.
So no, I don't understand. Why is this a story? I mean, I get why it's a story in the dynamic of live golf versus.
It actually has nothing to do with it. To me, I mean, that's a Tiger Woods move.
Yeah.
Again, this is another one of those things about the Masters that's comical, is that you get a lot of casuals that come in. But even I, casual golf fan, understand. Yeah, man, if I'm trying to get this career Grand Slam, if I'm trying to, put these demons to rest, get the monkey off my back, if you will. Yeah, man, I ain't talking to you. I'm locked in, especially after I double bogey on the first.
What was that first thing you said?
What's that?
It's a what move?
A Tiger Woods move.
Welcome to First Take, Joe Ovies.
Oh, no.
Because we cannot have this conversation without talking about Tiger Woods.
Well, it's funny. I've been right about a few things lately when it comes to how we talk about stuff.
Yeah.
And we get into a lot of this stuff on OG on Business. If you're part of OG fans, go to ogtrianglemedia.com. I've been right.
Smooth.
I'll be 3 for 3 here in the last 3 weeks.
Okay.
When Duke got bounced out of the NCAA tournament in the Final Four in the fashion that they did, and Cooper Flagg's shot came up short, I knew, because I did in the after dark. I'm like, I'm not trying to first take this up, ... And I knew what was going to happen. And sure enough, in the middle of the night, Skip Bayless tweets out, Cooper Flagg has all the things, but does he have the clutch gene? I'm like, here we go. We're going to do this. Does Cooper Flagg, is he clutch? Is it his fault? And sure enough, they're going to do that in First Take and whatnot, right? And then we got to the Alexander Ovechkin Gretzky chase. He becomes the all-time leading goal scorer. He does it in the same amount of games that Gretzky played. He tied him first, and then he surpassed Gretzky in the same amount of games played. But regardless, I thought to myself, you know what? Because things like places like First Take, Breakfast Ball, the facility, they don't talk about hockey like at any time.
I always forget the name of that show is Breakfast Ball.
Breakfast Ball on Fox Sports 1 with Greg Carton. So they don't talk about hockey, and that's okay. But because it's the national sports topic and something unique happens, all right, well, how are we going to spin it? Well, the easiest way to do it is to turn this into a LeBron, Michael Jordan debate. Gretzky, Ovechkin, who is better? So ESPN brings on PK Subban, who's part of their coverage. And I'm thinking, okay, they're going to talk to him about, like lay it out, like a classic explain like I'm 5 situation for those who might not follow hockey. Instead, they gave PK the platform to get in on the LeBron, Michael Jordan take.
Right.
And he's like, I've always been a Jordan guy. I'm like, buddy, I'm not here. Just talk about the hockey, man.
Right.
But they got to turn everything into a LeBron debate. And Awful Announcing wrote a piece about this around that time saying, so I was right about those 2 things. And they wrote something about why national sports media is incapable about talking about sports.
Yeah, because it's all professional wrestling now. I mean, I've been telling you this on OG Business for a long time.
You've been telling me for a while, but like, I thought to myself, well, how are they going to turn this Rory McIlroy thing into a LeBron Jordan debate? And sure enough, I saw it when I got here this morning. I see Skip Bayless, boom. Today on my YouTube show, why Rory McIlroy is the LeBron James of golf. And they're going to turn this into a Tiger thing. It's going to be a debate. If you don't want to, we all recognize that Tiger is the top. And there's a reason why we call it the Tiger Woods era.
Sure.
So I know what the debate is going to be today is the who you got debate.
Well, so,
are you going to take Rory or are you going to take Phil Mickelson?
Yeah.
Who's the second best golfer in the Rory era? Rather than, I mean, we just walked down a whole bunch of stuff that's interesting. But no.
Yeah,
even your radio topic. Would you rather have a Masters green jacket or a Hall of Fame jacket?
The LeBron, Michael Jordan of any topic, it's such a fish in the barrel kind of thing. And I get why we have gone to that and away from actual conversation about the event because it plays on emotion, right? In a way that, Rory's story may not for everybody, because whether you have a hard and fast opinion about which is better, LeBron or Jordan, who had the better career, who means more, blah, blah, blah. It will play on the, do you feel old? Right? Because I can sit here and tell you if you want to have a legitimate LeBron, Michael Jordan debate, I can tell you, look, I'm a Jordan guy, but I don't think this is absurd. Here are all the things LeBron has done that I think makes it reasonable to have this conversation.
Sure,
but he's not that dude. However, there are people my age that when I start saying that will immediately get in their feelings like, no, nobody's the GOAT. Nobody's Jordan. Jordan's the GOAT.
Well,
and that's what I think the goal of this is to keep you there because you are so in your feelings about, no, it's the children who are wrong.
Yeah.
That this debate fires off. And I think Tiger versus whoever you're going to put up there will do that in the future. But right now, Rory versus Phil, oh man, you are talking right to 30 versus 40.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You are talking right to 40 versus 20.
Well, it's funny. I saw another amusing, this was on Blue Sky, that essentially that the Masters, specifically the Masters and Rory McIlroy is Coco Melon for dudes over 28. I was like, yeah, that actually tracks. But actually, you just hit on the thing that is true of all media right now.
Yeah.
All media right now is essentially making you feel better about how your era was the best era.
Absolutely.
Everything is engineered to hit that dopamine receptor. And I'm guilty of it too.
Right.
If you look at my Instagram algorithm right now, it's essentially video game stuff where people are telling you the Super Nintendo was the greatest system ever made. I mean, was it? I don't know.
No.
But man, I remember those games. I remember playing Super Mario Kart. Or one thing about music, like, these kids don't know what it's like to have, all these bands.
Right.
At the one that, like, you do this every so often when you look at you do this on Instagram, when you look at the Billboard rock charts from whatever era. And in our brain, I know what you're doing, because in our brain, we have it in our head. Oh, this was what was popular. This was the greatest thing. And then you look at the Billboard charts and go, wait a minute. Fastball's the Way was actually the number one song?
Fastball's the Way was number one for weeks.
That's not what I would associate with that era. No, I'm thinking this is that. So everything is engineered to make you feel that your era was the best.
Absolutely.
Era. And I guess and it also tells you the demographics of who's watching ESPN right now.
Right. 100%. I mean, it tells you not only the demographics of who's watching, it tells you very much the direction of where the network is going, of where they think the money is.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
If you ever wanted an example of how social media has influenced legacy media, it is ESPN from start of the day to the end of the day.
Yes. And look, we're guilty of it from time to time.
Housekeeping.
Brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Green cleaning solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
We actually are very, very busy right now. We got Hockey Happy Hour taking place.
Happy Hour, yes.
At the Crank Arm Brewing in downtown Raleigh. It's going to start at 5. We're going to start recording at 5:30. Sivian's going to be in the house. This is your show. What are we doing?
Yeah.
You direct me here. What are we doing here?
So you guys will chat hockey and the Hurricanes for about 30 minutes. Then we're going to have our little Hurricanes game show.
Exciting.
OG fans prizes to give out. Crank Arm Brewing prizes to give out. I believe we'll have some bourbon.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, I have. Yeah, I got a bottle. I got a couple bottles here.
Yeah. So look, come on out, have fun. You do not have to be a Canes expert at all.
No.
I'm going to make this easy on everybody, but Ovies, Giglio, Sivian, and Tom Edwards, who's going to be a part of it too.
This is a free event.
Absolutely.
So just come on down
and say hello.
And look, we got plenty to talk about when it comes to the Carolina Hurricanes. They're wrapping up the regular season this week. We know they're going to be playing the New Jersey Devils, and Sivian, a fan favorite. Everybody's there for Sivian, including me.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about. So Hockey Happy Hour, Tuesday, Crank Arm, starting up at 5 o'clock. We'll also be recording a show. By the way, if you got questions for Sivian and you can't make it, call the sports phone.
Oh, there you go.
919-444-2211. Call the sports phone or text the sports phone if you got questions for Sivian, and she'll be more than happy to answer them while we're doing the show.
Curse or don't.
I'm rocking the new Breaking T-shirt. Go to breakingt.com/OG to check out the Ovies and Giglio collection. It's appropriate. We're just coming off a major golf event. It's green.
And
it's yellow. Looks very similar, but not, right, in terms of color scheme.
Right.
I'm with you. Happened this weekend.
Yeah, we really should have just gotten like a little dash of red in there to really set it
to
all
really
off.
set it all. Well, there's only so many colors we can do with Breaking T to keep things costs low, if you will.
No, I understand.
So,
and you got to tap dance around the lawyers.
This is true too. So head on over to breakingt.com/OG. You can get access to the entire Ovies and Giglio podcast collection, including this new one that is inspired by a certain golf tournament that still takes place in Greensboro, but we're not going to name it. We also have the OG Birthday Bash taking place May 1st. That's going to be at Shady's. The big part of this Birthday Bash is that we will unveil OG Light.
Ooh,
our signature beer-flavored beer.
Very good.
We're going to have a keg of it. It's there for you. We're eventually going to get it in cans, but your first opportunity to get some OG Light is May 1st at Shady's. Of course, that is thanks to our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out at wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer, attorneys and counselors at law. This logo, by the way, and our event that's taking place at Shady's, you will have access to an exclusive rollback quarter zip version of this logo. So head on over to rollback.com. Use that promo code OG20. If you haven't yet, you'll get 20% off your order. I get it. You're watching golf. The weather's gorgeous. You're trying to get out there. One thing I love about golf is you go to the event thinking that that Rory's going to look at you.
Right.
And say, hey, I need a third. And you're ready. You got your soft spikes on. You got your polo on. You got your hat on. Maybe you got a rollback on.
Yeah.
Looking good. So go to rollback.com. Use that promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order. And since the weather's getting nice, it's 80 degrees today.
I know.
You know what that means? It's 2 Roosters time. It's perfect ice cream season. And with the Canes headed into the playoffs, you want the Slavin Sunday, or you want to try the Jalen Chatfield collab. That is also available at 2 Roosters. So go check them out. 2roosters.com to check out the new flavors. And of course, go to their various locations. You get pints, Secret Pint of the Month Club. They got merch, all great stuff with their friends at 2 Roosters. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. You know, you can sell your car to Heister. I bought a car from Heister. Door-to-door service with our friends at Heister Automotive Group.
Look at you.
I know. It's my my 17-year-old son, 2009 Honda Civic of his dreams.
Oh,
because you know that's what everybody grows up wanting.
Beating the ladies off with a stick.
That's his NIL deal. Nico at Tennessee might have asked for a little bit something better than a 2009 Honda Civic. To help us talk about what's going on at Tennessee, NIL, the future of the House settlement, Matt Brown, Extra Points newsletter is a fantastic newsletter if you are interested in the business of college sports. Nobody does it better. Matt, what's going on, man?
Hey, thanks for having me, fellas. So I got to ask you real quick before we go talk Nico. Do you guys remember what your first car was? I would have been thrilled to have had a Honda Civic when I was 17. That was not what I was driving.
Mine was the hand-me-down 1991 Mercury Cougar.
And what year did you start driving, just to put this in perspective?
This is 1995.
Okay.
Mind you, this Cougar already had over 100,000 miles on it because my dad put some work on that, on that car.
No.
What was yours?
I had a so I started driving in 97. I had a 1990 Toyota 4Runner that was my uncle's, then my dad's, then my mom's. You had 100,000 on yours. Mine had over 200,000 when I took over the 4Runner.
Matt, what'd you have?
Did it still work? Yeah, I think mine was pushing 2. I was driving in, I think, 2003, 2004. I had an 85 Olds Cutlass.
Holy shit.
No, right? And it was baby blue. It was 16 feet long. When you turned the car off, the heater was still run. So you had to pop the hood and like manually unplug it. Like, it was... For whatever reason, not a Babe magnet. Now you look at it and think that it'd be kind of a cool car, but I didn't appreciate it back then.
Here's the thing. There is a transition point to what's going on at Tennessee with Nico
Iamaleava. It's not that hard.
Thank you. Yeah. Look, you know how long it took me to get DJ Uyunglele down?
Yeah.
Anti-Hawaiian racism.
Nico might show up at UNC, so I might have to learn.
I
might have to learn this. Although, Matt, I see you rocking the BYU. He might end up there for all we know. So we'll see what happens. To put this in context, to transition from the car conversation, when you're talking to your parents about what kind of vehicle you're going to get, you're going to use your peers,
of course,
as the benchmark.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, hey, man, my buddy John, he got a new Toyota Tacoma, and Damien, well, he got the hand-me-down Lincoln Town car.
I was dating a girl that got a brand new Mercedes convertible.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you're having this negotiation with your parents,
right?
And I was like, well, are they working a job? How are their grades? You know, all these things factor into what kind of car you're getting. What are your parents' financial situation?
Yeah.
So here we are with Tennessee and Nico. And well, Carson Beck just got this. And I forgot who else got this. And I know we knocked this deal out when I was in high school, but hey, man, the price of the brick went up. So I would like my NIL package with Tennessee to be comparable to what I'm seeing at other places since I've signed this deal. These are all very logical things that we see in professional sports. But Matt, think about college. It's not professional sports. There's no collective bargaining. There are no contracts. It's the Wild West. It's you and the school and everything else. And he held out like you would expect an NFL player to hold out for more money. But Josh Heupel in Tennessee said, yeah, man, we don't think you're worth $4 million or whatever the reported asking price was. So by all means, go see what you get on the open market. We were headed for something like this. And it finally happened during the spring portal, and it's gotten messy, and people have opinions on it, man.
They sure do, and I think it's like who it is and the exact market make this a bigger deal. I don't know how it is in the triangle or anything, but the idea of a presumptive starting quarterback going in December or January and saying the price went up, we need to renegotiate some things. That's not uncommon. I am personally aware of at least 2 Big Ten institutions and 1 SEC school where that happened. It sometimes ended up being money, sometimes it was a different apartment, sometimes it was some other reworkings because of the parameters and timeline of the house settlement or what was happening with the market. To do it as publicly as this happened, and for a guy that was just okay. Is one thing with a fan base that, God bless Tennessee, they love to argue and scream on the internet. You know, they're like Florida State was when Florida State was good. And you have the guy that was paid the market setting premium 2 years ago. I don't know anybody that would say that Nico has provided market setting performance since he's been at Tennessee. He hasn't been bad, but there's probably at least 6 other guys in the SEC that I think have been more productive.
Well, you mentioned the triangle.
Well, who he's been good against, right? Like he's been good against UT Chattanooga and UTEP and kind of disappeared.
But that's not the point.
Yeah.
You know, Matt, you bring up the triangle. Was it Darian Mensah who transferred from Tulane to Duke back in December? He's reportedly getting anywhere between 4 to 5, depending on who you ask. So the fact that Duke is doling out this kind of cash and Nico's people, family, and everything else know that it's the SEC. They know they're good for the money, but I guess it is what are you getting in return for that amount of money?
There's that, and there's also the dirty little secret here is we don't even know if they are good for the money. You know, part of the reason you're seeing crazy amounts of payroll for this particular cycle isn't because Duke's NIL collective suddenly acquired $30 million to spend on football. It's because schools are now able to directly compensate athletes via the house settlement, and they can share some of their TV money. But at this stage in the game, most of that money's already spoken for. The people already have figured out mostly who their quarterback's going to be. They've already signed commitments. There's not a lot of places that have a lot of salary cap room. And what I had been hearing is the third part, the marketing firm, or the kind of unique collective model that Tennessee was operating, where it was trying to be this for-profit entity, is not firing on the same level in 2025 that it might have in 2021 or 2022. So yeah, there may be some hardball here. Like, we're not going to pay you Carson Beck money when you're not performing like Carson Beck, but also there's not an unlimited amount of donor bagman money at this time of the calendar. I legitimately think the number of institutions that have the interest and the capacity to pay Nico $3 million, we could probably count them on one hand. They exist, but there's not that many of them right now.
So you wrote about this today for Extra Points, and you did a sort of like our friend Stephen Godfrey likes to say, the I think, I feel, I know of it. We sort of break it down. And I told you before we started recording, not only did I read the whole thing, I was talking back to it at some points. And there was only one thing that I took some issue with, and that is when you said that you wanted to make it clear you did not think that the kids in these situations are totally blameless. And I hear you, like, they're not totally blameless. I do think, to your point about not knowing whether or not these collectives are good for it or not, I do wonder how much you have some of these guys throwing money around as if we are still dealing with the player black market and getting upset now that the players can be public about, no, I didn't get what I was promised, or no, I didn't get what I'm worth. And so I am, in Jaden Rashada's case, moving on. In Nico Iamaleava's case, we're going to renegotiate and the school decides what it does. I agree with you that the kids are not totally blameless, but I think even as much as some people in the media may overstate how much blame should be on the suits in this, we still are understating how much blame should be on the suits in this.
I think it depends on who we call suits, right? Like if I had to assign like one group of people the highest percentage of blame, and this is just me personally, I don't expect everybody else to agree. Like I have a pretty negative opinion of the median agent in this world, right? And a big part of that is just because I think there's enormous amounts of incompetence. There's a lot of people here that don't have law degrees that would never get certified by the NFLPA or the NBA Players Association, who are not going to be working with these folks once they have professional careers, and are publicly negotiating via Twitter. And like these people, I do not think are on not everybody, right? But sports agents as a profession generally not on the short list of going to heaven, in my opinion. And I think that world is much worse in college. We can absolutely blame a lot of people working in the NCAA and college sports who are not currently working in this world now, who screwed up in 2001, 2005, 2011, didn't take any steam out of the kettle and led to this world. But I think it's easy to just reflexively say, like, screw the NCAA. This is all their fault. At this point, like in the post-Alston world, I literally don't know if there's a whole lot that like Bubba himself can do to fix this, because they're fundamentally not in control. It's lawyers and judges and Congress that's in control of establishing guidelines for any of this. We want to blame them. That's great.
I don't see. I think punting to the federal government or the state level completely absolves the NCAA and Power 5, Power 4, however you want to put it, from avoiding these issues. They're doing everything possible to not name them as employees. They want they'll do anything they can to just not make them employees. Because look, I'm more on the line in that the players in this situation do share some of the blame depending on how we got here. In the case of what happened at Tennessee, when you dive a little bit deeper, they went through spring practice like everything was going to be cool up until it wasn't. So when you're Tennessee's perspective, I'm like, wait a minute, I thought we were all good. Now all of a sudden you want to change the term of the deal, and you showed up to practice like we're preparing.
Well, hang on, Matt, what do you know about that? Because I've been told that his father started this process in December. It's just public now.
No, but what I'm getting at is the process might have started then, but they were going through spring practice as if everything was good. And when it finally, they thought they were creating a leverage point. We're gonna wait this out till the end of spring and put you in a bad spot when the portal opened up. That if you don't sign this deal or if you don't give us more money, well, then who are you going to rely on? Yeah. Right. And that's a negotiation tactic. All this is to say, if we're treating this like you would in the NFL, the 1-for-1 here, the NCAA and these schools and these conferences can solve these problems with one weird trick: collective bargaining, sign actual deals. And I don't just do it already. And I don't understand why they won't.
So I think my gentle disagreement with that, I think, is, and fundamentally I agree. It's that we are so far down that I don't think it is practical, plausible, or impossible for schools to say, okay, let's just do collective bargaining. Because if you want to do that, and you say, okay, we're going to voluntarily recognize our football players as employees, and we're going to try to come to the table. You can't do collective bargaining without somebody else on the other side of the table. And right now that doesn't exist. Management cannot unilaterally create a union. And if you voluntarily recognize them as employees, well, we've got a whole lot of states throughout the South that don't let public employees engage in collective bargaining. So you need to then create either a separate entity or have them be employees of a conference. And then you need to create some sort of legal clarification to establish who's the employee, who isn't, what are the rules of this process. And my friends, that at this point takes Congress because of how different and complicated state level employment is. Now, granted, nobody is asking for that.
Right.
They probably should. In my opinion, because I think that's the way to go down here. But it isn't easy anymore. And now you are left, I think, with no good options, because both of them require Congress. And I don't think I'm being especially partisan when I say, as a country, we have not sent our best and brightest to that particular legislative body. And even some of the people who are very smart don't know anything or care about college sports.
Well, you mentioned in your newsletter that you think there is a very real possibility that this puts some momentum behind Congress enacting some sort of legislation.
Yeah,
I do think that, and I think that I want to be clear, because sometimes on Twitter this gets garbled. There is a difference between me saying there is a political pathway for a bill, and the opinions of lawmakers have changed. That's a different thing from me saying, I think this bill is good. No, I think giving the NCAA a limited antitrust exemption is probably a very bad policy. But Congress is different. Republicans control everything at this point. We have, and not only that, we got to be honest here, like things like parliamentary procedure and institutional niceties, that doesn't matter anymore. We're throwing people in jail in El Salvador who had a legal right to be here. No one's triple checking with the Senate parliamentarian to make sure that this rule, hits X, Y, or Z of 60 years precedent. If they want to do it, they're going to do it. And what's changed is you got multiple Democrats who 2 years ago would have said, like hell, we're going to give the NCAA anything. We definitely want athletes to be employees. We want athletes to grow organized labor in the South. I mean, they got their ass kicked in the last election. And a lot of these people didn't really feel that in their bones. And now they're saying, we're prepared in private, we're prepared to punt. So we can say that we have brought order and stability here. And that's guys like Senator Blumenthal. Yeah. That's right. You've got the Murphys and the Sanders who are going to be true believers. But yeah, you can get 12 senators to say, nope, we're gonna put the genie back in the bottle. And events like this engage people who are not really paying attention.
Well, I think the smartest thing you said in today's newsletter with extra points was that we are operating under we're doing things for revenge. We're doing things that don't necessarily make sense from a logical, smart policy directive. It's just basically this SEC school's mad at this player, and we got to keep the players in check. Because you got to remember, the NCAA has been trying to make sure that the labor stays free for as long as possible. And there's a good group of people out there that absolutely believe, no, you're going to do this for free. And now that you've gotten too big for your britches, so to speak, so we're going to enact legislation that puts you back in your place. Because that's what it's really about. You know, to borrow a phrase from Babani Jones, is going to join us later this week. It's about keeping young black kids broke, straight up. And that is a thing that will play well in a sort of revenge way. And I can see that really being the source of why we actually get something done at the federal level.
Matt,
that's it.
Matt, I know this is not your beat, but I just, your opinion, following sports business in the college world the way you do. Are people like Dwayne Johnson over the UFL and whoever's over the G League just sitting there licking their chops at like, if Congress acts and we put this genie back in the bottle, boy, is the door open to make our league a whole lot better and a whole lot more appealing on television? Because the UFL is unwatchable garbage at this point, but they could change that in a heartbeat.
Honestly, and I could be wrong about this, I don't think so. And part of that is because I don't think especially highly of a lot of the executives that runs any kind of spring football league, because I think that's been a fool's investment for the last 30 years.
Yeah. But,
part of the value proposition for watching either college football or spring football or the G League isn't just the quality of play on the field. God knows there's been generations of people going to South Carolina football games and that team's been dog water for 30 years and they still sell out because of a connection to that institution and that experience. Like, you can sell tickets to ECU football or to Duke football or other things, even if you don't have the most elite athletes, because you're in the experience and emotional connection business, not just the NFL development football business. There's been an opening for a while and we've seen athletes go this route for elite basketball development outside of college basketball. And we've seen people go that direction. And maybe we live in a world where eventually that happens on some level with college football. I don't think that fundamentally changes like the marketability or the television value or what college football looks like. That's going to require a much bigger investment than anything that the Houston Roughnecks are able to provide. Is that a real team right now? I'm trying to.
I honestly could not tell you who is and who is not.
I can't keep track.
Well, I think that's part of the reason, right?
The other thing that I'm curious about we're all operating under the assumption that House is going to go through and that you're going to have these, for lack of a better term, salary caps in place for all these schools. But is there a timetable here that needs to happen in order for all the things that we assumed to take place this upcoming fall and spring sports season? I mean, are we looking at a potential where it gets delayed or there's some other sort of thing that keeps it from being enacted and then things just continue to be the Wild West? Like, where does it stand right now?
Yeah. So after the last hearing, Judge Wilkin, said, let's talk again in a week. I have some concerns about ramping up roster limits. I have a couple of concerns about people being in the future classes, but overall, I think this is a good settlement. And the prevailing assumption in the collegiate legal establishment and among every AD that I've talked to really since early March has been this will get finalized sometime in late April.
Okay.
If it doesn't, there's not a 0% chance that happens. I don't think it's likely, but if it doesn't, enough states have passed rules that allow institutions to directly compensate athletes. That my understanding is we're just going to move towards an uncapped year, and we'll do this even on steroids, just without any regulatory guardrails until there's a new settlement, because nobody wants this to actually go to trial. The NCAA would be bankrupt,
and they keep losing. That's the other thing too.
On these grounds, they do. Yeah.
Money aside, I mean, they always every time they go to court on this kind of stuff, they end up losing, and that's why we are where we are.
How does Houston blowing the national championship game change Ted Cruz's motivation to get a victory in the college sports world here?
I've had some of his staffers reach out to me saying, like, you gotta cool it on the Ted Cruz showing up to things meme. Like, it's not fair. And I'm like,
then Ted Cruz has to cool it with showing up to things.
Keep losing.
Yeah, this is my right as an American. If you want to call me, we can talk, and I'll be a serious professional talking about policy. And I think a lot of people that do not agree with me politically will say Matt is capable of talking business like a pro. But yeah, I'm gonna make fun of you if you show up to an event when you're like 10 games under 500 for these kind of things. People are begging you not to show up. I'm gonna do it, just like I want to clown Liberty when they do something worth clowning.
It is that one, right? More than that one had to be the one that stings. Like, at this point, Ted Cruz has to be looking in the mirror and going, "It's me." There's no other explanation.
0% chance. And this is not me picking on Ted.
Yeah,
I think, which I'm happy to do later though. To become a U.S. senator and to operate in this environment requires you to abandon that sense of introspection that would lead you to the conclusion that you have. Yes. You, all 100 of them, have to be Principal Skinner looking at the data and going, no, it's the children that are wrong. 0% chance he thinks that he's offended some cosmic being that's forcing Texas institutions to lose.
Because it's not like it's not like a situation where he's like Drake, noted rap enthusiast, right, where he would show up, he would bandwagon, so you would win, then he would show up, and then the demise would happen, right? Like, this is just, he's the cooler.
That's what it is. Like, I need people to understand. Yeah, most lawmakers fundamentally do not care about college sports. That they are not message board subscribers. They are not watching this for fun. They went to county day high schools. They went to Princeton. And this is not their world. Senator Cruz cares.
But this is where the Cuban part of him has to finally show up. As a Cuban, raised by a Cuban sports-loving father, the Cubans got to come out in that. You got to believe in these superstitions. My dad is the same person who would kick my mom out of the living room if the Cardinals suddenly started losing when she showed up. Okay, or the Dolphins, or he would go to the Catholic Church and he would light a votive for said sports team so that they would win. My dad is so superstitious that he was convinced for the longest time the reason why we haven't had a Triple Crown winner in horse racing was because I was born.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, there wasn't one since 1979, and you were born in 1979. I'm like, so do I need to die for the next Triple Crown winner? Thankfully, we've had one. So I'm still here.
I'm glad.
Lighting the candles. No, everything you're explaining here.
Cuban. Like, I know your dad was Cuban. Please have a little superstition. Like,
this is no. Here's what we need. What you're describing, a beautiful Pan Latino tradition. My Brazilians do very similar things. If Senator Cruz shows up to the next Houston athletic event in a silk shirt, and he does the whole major league, Jabo, stuff. He brings some rum or something.
Yes.
I think I speak for a large section of sports internet to say we will cool it for 48 hours.
Yes.
If we will. Right, you'll get a very temporary amnesty if you lean into this. I know he won't do it.
He won't do
it.
But he needs to. somewhere deep down, that Cuban gene has to come out, and he's got to be superstitious. At least show me you've got it, man.
Since we're talking about these senators that are grandstanding on this, you mentioned in the newsletter, Ted Cruz, Jerry Moran of Kansas, Cory Booker, New Jersey, Chris Coons, Delaware, Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut. When do you expect to hear from Tommy Tuberville's office to make sure he is actually the one that did all this by himself?
I would expect to get something from his PR team within 9 hours of Senator Cruz releasing a bill. They have been very diligent in letting me know what Senator Tuberville thinks about these issues, even though I have reached out to them and said, I think your boss is the dumbest member of the United States Senate, and it is not an accident that even though he has the most lived experience in this world, nobody is listening to him.
Yeah.
And look, guys, that's just the truth. And you're right.
Yeah.
Listen, as somebody that was in school at the University of Alabama from 99 to 03, there is no one on this earth I hate more than Tommy Tuberville. And I'm glad the rest of you are seeing what I have known for decades.
And it's this fascinating thing. If this guy wins a statewide election, even though there's so many pockets, so completely pockets of people throughout this great country, completely independent of politics, are like, I hate that man.
Yeah.
If it's just constant, screen caps of him losing to UConn at Cincinnati, or screen caps of the walking away at Texas Tech, or Pine Box this, or memes of his guitar playing brother or whatever, just for football reasons alone, he's like the anti-Mr. Congeniality. So many people are like, I do not like this man.
His politics are horrible, but in voting for him, the thing that makes you truly unredeemable is you voted for Tommy Tuberville. His politics are horrible, but at the end of the day, you saw the name Tommy Tuberville on a ballot and thought, yes, sir.
That's my guy.
Yeah.
I'm in.
That's my guy.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm struggling to think of like a contemporary example for this. Maybe Lane Kiffin, but even at this point, I think he's been redeemed enough that even if you're like a USC fan, you're like, come on.
No.
He learned how to do yoga. He's different now.
When he was the head coach at Auburn, he was banned from the biggest football powerhouse high school in Mobile because everyone knew this guy's word doesn't mean shit.
Doesn't mean anything. Matt Brown, Extra Points. Check out the newsletter. Always fascinating stuff. Matt, we appreciate it, man.
It's a pleasure, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Always a fun conversation with Matt Brown from Extra Points. You need to have a conversation about your house. Contact our friends at Hometown Realty, myhtr.com. There's a lot of folks out there talking about guaranteed cash offers. You're leaving money on the table. Don't do that, especially in this market. The home values continue to go up. They're usually ahead of countrywide trends. So get the maximum value for your home if you're trying to sell it, or if you're trying to find an angle on all the new construction that's going up here in the Triangle. Hometown Realty has the ways to understand the incentives involved.
Ooh.
So let's say you go to myhtr.com. You decide to buy your house and you got to take that thing to closing. Well, we got some people who can do that too. We got our friends at Miller Lending. Check them out online. MillerLending.com/the OG. That's our landing page specific to us. You can also call them directly at 919-447-3377. So if you're trying to buy a house and you're trying to get a better understanding of where interest rates are right now, don't get all caught up in the fact that rates are a little bit higher now than they were, say, 5-6 years ago, and you're worried about where things are going. When you're not paying closing costs, it's all good. You're not trying to break even in the next 8 years. If the rates come down, refinance. It's not going to cost you anything. If you find yourself trying to consolidate debt down the line, refinance. No cost to you. Is it a matter of a home remodel? Refinance. No cost to you. Rates come down in the next couple of years or your situation changes, you can refinance again. That's the flexibility of Miller Lending. So check them out online at MillerLending.com/the OG. You take that things to close, you're going to get a gift basket from the Raleigh Wine Shop, which is awesome. So again, MillerLending.com/the OG, or call them directly at 919-447-3377. You bought that house. We're a one-stop shop, Demetri.
Oh, very good.
Bought the house, you financed the house, now you got to insure the house.
Oh, you do. Matt Davis, State Farm. He's got you. Give him a call, 919-779-8277, insuregarner.com. He's going to help you save money on home and auto, or maybe you've been a long-time State Farm customer. You think you got a good rate. I don't know. Matt might be able to find something in the couch cushions to help you save some more money. There you go.
So contact him today at 919-779-8277. All right, so you bought the house. You financed the house. You've insured the house. Well, now you got to take care of the house. How do you do that? with our friends at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Bugsbite.com. You can bundle and save. You can get your mosquito treatment starting now. Now's the time.
Right.
Now is the time. We've had all this rain going on, and that's going to lead to mosquito breeding. You want to make sure that that's taken care of. You contact them today at bugsbite.com.
Look, friends, at the OG, we only take money from one business that's about snuffing out life, and that's bugsbite.com. The folks at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority.
Lightning round brought to you by Sam Jones. Right now is the perfect time to go to Sam Jones. They got outdoor seating, great service, great barbecue, great bourbon selection. Sam Jones in downtown Raleigh, of course, out in Greenville as well. I was driving around running some errands yesterday in downtown Raleigh, and I saw a lot of people enjoying the wonderful weather outside of Sam Jones. I might take advantage of it this week myself. So check out Sam Jones and thank them for sponsoring the lightning round. Did you practice like a pro this weekend, Demetri?
At what?
At anything?
Oh, no.
North Carolina had their spring game or their spring practice availability. It's only the second time that the media was able to see a practice. It was the first time that fans were able to check it out. I think Andrew Jones over at Tar Heel Illustrated estimated around 5,000 people showed up, but then they kind of bounced after a while. I was talking to one former Carolina player who was not part of the Legends group that was invited back, because that was my favorite part of the Andrew Jones Tar Heel Illustrated recap, is that the Belichick staff realized, well, there's not a lot of great Carolina teams to bring back, but we got a lot of pros, and we're going to practice like a pro, so we're going to bring them all back. But he was saying that a lot of his boys showed up, they checked it out, and they kind of got bored with it, and then they moved on. Now, there's levels to why this is bored.
I mean, you saw this, just to be fair, you saw this across the country, right? Like some of those places that are known for huge spring games, way down, because you're just doing a practice now.
Well, there's reasons for this. And Matt Brown wrote about this last year as it relates to the changing nature of the spring games. We were running hot there for spring game attendance wars.
Yeah.
You being the Alabama guy knows that Alabama-Auburn, part of the dick measuring that takes place between the two programs,
they
goes
do it
beyond
on the same day.
Wins and losses. It also goes to who's showing up.
Right.
But there's only like 3 schools that consistently bring 50, 60, 70,000 for a spring game.
Yeah. I mean, and really, I think that even Nebraska was operating on such a different level than everybody else that to try, like, I think the dick measuring contest was for who's number 2, right? Because for years they have packed that stadium.
Yes. So that's seen a decline. You've seen schools like NC State, Carolina get away from it because they know that, look, man, they're bringing 80,000. Maybe we're lucky to get 15,000. They can wrap a charity event. And then there's credit to Matt Rule, who was ahead of this. I don't want to do a showcase for the spring portal period.
Yeah. Credit to him?
Yeah.
Credit.
I want to give credit. He's been the most vocal about it.
Right. But like, we're giving him credit for an incredibly stupid position. Like, what is his plan? To not play on TV during the season?
Well, it's for the actual spring game, they'll do things like a concert or there's some schools that are doing concerts now.
I understand. But how does he anticipate not having other coaches see his team?
Oh, well, there's that. There is that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think. That's what I'm
only giving him credit. I'm only giving him credit for being vocal about it before everybody else. That's the only thing because at first it was
congratulations, you're the loudest bitch.
So back to Carolina.
Sure.
And the practice like a pro day. It was apparently boring for a variety of reasons, but there's also layers to that too.
Do we have the video?
I'm actually, hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull up. Well, before we get to the video.
Do you want me to, I've got it pulled up. You want me to send it to you?
Yeah, send it to me.
Okay.
Send it to me. Email it to me so I can just go ahead and link to it.
Okay.
Before we get to that video, because that ended up being the most interesting thing that came out of the practice like a pro day. Are people finally seeing it now that Bill Belichick has no personality? He's never had a personality. And I don't know what people expected out of Bill Belichick when he got to Carolina, as though he was going to change his football persona when he got there.
Yeah.
Because he's never going to give you anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be super secretive. I was reading Inside Carolina, Tar Heel Illustrated, and other reports about the spring game, and they were kind of complaining, and understandably so, because they're trying to do a job. No numbers, no names. So how are you supposed to get a read on who's good, who's bad, who looks good, who doesn't look so good? and it was very difficult to read. That's by design. That's very Bill Belichick.
Yeah, there is something about, and Belichick is the example of this to the absolute extreme. So I don't want to lump every coach whose father was also a coach in with this, but there very much is a 1940s motivational tactics are the best motivational tactics of all time to these guys. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I know that we all believe we're on to Cincinnati. I know we all believe that is some level of an act, but he is right back in the same environment. Why would he not be playing the same songs?
There's two Belichicks. There's the one you see with Nick Saban doing an HBO special.
Yep.
And then there's football Bill Belichick.
Right.
There's no reason to believe that he's going to give you the Nick Saban Bill Belichick.
Right.
And it's not about how serious you take football, because even Nick Saban, who's the best to do this in college football, would at least give you a bar every so often. Rat poison, any number of things that would take place. And while he would go into football mode, and I think towards the end of his time at Alabama, his press conference tirades were a little bit too orchestrated.
Sure.
At least it was something to get the people going. Or like we saw at halftime, where, you stop asking me, I ain't answering. Like, he gave you something.
Yeah.
Belichick's never going to give you any of that stuff. So far, the only thing that Belichick is giving us is a girlfriend.
This video is so stupid.
And this is the only thing that truly went viral from the UNC spring practice. And I'm at the point now that I can galaxy brain this.
Okay.
And say that Bill Belichick probably likes the fact that the only thing that's come out of the spring, and the only thing that's really coming out of Chapel Hill in terms of what gets people to talk about UNC is the girlfriend, rather than talking about football.
Yeah.
Good or bad, by the way. I'm not saying this in a nefarious way, in that he wants the girlfriend as a distraction so that people see that, man, this looks like a real mid team with an easy schedule.
I mean,
I don't think it's that. I think it's just in general the Bill Belichickness of it, that I don't want to give you anything. And if you're going to be focused on this and not what's going on the football field, it keeps my secrets in the house.
I want to agree with you, because you're right. Like, I don't think we have to think too deep about how many levels Belichick is thinking this on, but we're never going to know whether or not this is a bad team, right? Like, they are going to have to fall ass backwards into a fourth loss. I just don't see it on that schedule.
The schedule is easy.
Yeah.
But we know nothing about their preparation.
Right.
We know nothing about whether they understand college football. I don't know anything about the quarterbacks.
History tells you, regardless of who is on the roster, who the coach is, that Carolina will have a 7-5 football team. That is the grand history of this program.
And if they go 7-5, that's not why you paid that money.
Right.
That's agreed. But we'll see how it goes once the season. And I cannot wait for the start of the season.
Now,
but in the meantime,
speaking of pay that money, let's see this obvious Marvel third-tier superhero audition walk.
So how much do you think? All right. Well, first and foremost, so this is the video that went viral from the practices. She's helping Bill get mic'd up for the spring game. She's got some incredible floor length, what is that? Snakeskin leather jacket or something like that. The boots are, look, man, I'm impressed. To me, it looks to me that she's just aerating the field. That's the new grass.
Agreed.
Because you remember Mac Brown put in the fake grass,
right?
Which people were mad about.
Yeah.
Bill went, screw that. We're putting real grass back. And look, I think it's only a couple of weeks that it's been good to go. So maybe she's just helping with the aeration still to reseed after the practices. I don't know.
Maybe. I can't get over the wind blowing through the jacket when she's walking towards the camera. I mean, this just screams, I missed my calling in Hollywood. And I, by the way, don't want to be hard on her. She's a 25-year-old acting like a 25-year-old.
She's the main character.
Right? Like, who gives a shit?
And 25-year-olds think they're the main character.
Absolutely.
We just came off of Coachella this past weekend. All you got to do is open up your social media act to see a bunch of 20-somethings being the main character at Coachella.
Right. I
just got done with prom.
Yeah.
Taking my, photos with prom. And not to say that prom photos from our time weren't staged and you get the families together, but now, I saw full photog setups, professionals showing up to the Arboretum to do prom pics. So if you don't think main character energy is a generational thing, Joe, that's what we're getting here.
Joe, there was a family in my neighborhood that rented out the clubhouse for prom pictures.
The whole clubhouse?
The whole clubhouse, because it just has a more regal look to it.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
What does nobody do the classic? Everybody shows up to somebody's house and they put all the dates on the stairwell.
Yeah, but
does nobody do that anymore?
But my neighborhood doesn't have houses like that. But the clubhouse, The clubhouse does.
I see.
I don't put so much blame on Jordan for being 25 and acting 25. I put a lot of blame on Carolina boosters and administration for just saying, you know what? We don't give a fuck about the football program. Do whatever you want.
No, this is what they want.
This is your plaything.
This is something that I have not gotten a clear answer on. I know Luke DeCock wrote about this in the News and Observer. He doesn't fault Bill Belichick or Mike Lombardi or the fact that the staff is filled out with friends and family of Bill Belichick, or the fact that Bill Belichick sent an email back to Robbie Pickrell about, hey, please CC Jordan on all my emails, because she's acting as like his administrative assistant.
I don't blame him for any of this either.
I blame nothing on the Carolina gave him this money to do this. The question that I have that I don't have an answer on yet, because we haven't played a football game yet.
Yeah.
Because all this might be worth it if they do win more than, if they do go more than 7-5. If there's buyer's remorse taking place in Chapel Hill. That this was not what they thought they were getting.
I think there is already at least a segment of people that have buyer's remorse in Chapel Hill. I've lived here for 20 years, Joe. I see no evidence that Carolina fans care about football at any level of fandom. Like they gave the guy money to get them in the news, to get them on SportsCenter, to get them on McAfee. That is the only goal of this.
There's a booster administrative element to this that you're right. That Bill Belichick is kind of like how we used to talk about recruiting in the area. And we were texting with Bomani about this the other day related to Duke and recruiting and everything else. Sometimes you have to make the show that we're about this. So like John Wall at the time, Duke knew they were never going to get John Wall, but they had to show that they were interested in one and dones that could then set up Kyrie Irving. That was the true, here we go. So the Belichick thing and spending the money that they're spending is illustrative to the rest of the college football world. No, we're serious about this.
Yeah.
Might not work out with Bill, but understand we're serious about this. Now, do Carolina fans in general value football more than basketball? No. It's the inverse of you, Alabama fan, where Nate Oates gets knocked out in the NCAA tournament. You're like, okay, moving on.
Yeah.
I think the same thing happens with football. But there are hardcore Carolina fans for football that feel very strongly about what's taking place in Chapel Hill.
I mean, look, for them, I feel for them, because the majority of your fan base, like, if we're just being honest, Joe, need to grow the fuck up. Like, basketball doesn't matter that much. We're in a football world.
I wish we'd break away from that.
We've got a lot to get to. It's a lightning round.
Rancid is touring with this summer.
I don't know.
God, they're on some tour that's like, man, 20-something-year-old Demetri. Oh, no, it's not that they're touring. It's that they are on, there's some festival in Tampa that like one day the headlining stage is them, Jimmy Eat World, and Green Day all together.
I see. Yeah, Rancid's one of those bands that in high school and in college, I bought all the albums. I saw them at the Cat's Cradle when they came through in support of Life Won't Wait. I love Rancid. But then I stopped listening to Rancid.
Right.
And this is a perfect summer conversation. It's like, what's the one band you grew up with that you loved? And now when you go back and listen to it, you go, I can't.
Oh, for me, that's Dave Matthews.
Is it Dave Matthews?
All day long.
For me, it's actually Rancid.
Really?
I will listen. I did not like Green Day. I thought Green Day were a bunch of sellouts. But now I listen to a Green Day track from that era and I go, yeah, this is a bop. And I listen to Rancid. I'm like, I don't know.
So I'll still throw on Rancid, but a track. I'm not listed to In the Wolves Come Out, start to finish.
I'll listen to Time
Bomb.
Bomb.
Out Come the Wolves.
I'll listen to Time Bomb.
Sure.
You know, I'll listen to all that. Yeah, and Out Come the Wolves is still a good album. Anyway, we digress. The Canes wrapped up their home regular season. Things. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm saying hearing good things.
I thought you were being sarcastic.
No, not at all.
Because if you go online, people are freaking out.
Oh, no.
Because of they're a bit of a slump. Look, the Canes are back. Once we found out, A, they're in the playoffs, B, we know their opponent, and it's starting up next week against the New Jersey Devils, the Canes are in, like, don't get hurt mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and nothing that's going to happen over the course of what happened this weekend where they ended the Rangers season, and the Rangers have been imploding down the stretch, but they had a bad look against Toronto yesterday, and they're closing things out this week. Nothing that happens since they've clinched and we've known the playoff schedule for them changes what their issues are. I'm not quite sure, unless you're thinking, well, how hard is it going to be to turn it on? No, I trust that Rod Brindamore and the crew understand what the deal is. And they also know, since they've been here, since Rod's been the coach, they have not lost a first-round series, and I don't expect them to lose a first-round series against the Devils. all the issues that we understand about the Canes still exist.
Yeah.
Regardless of how they finish the season. The goaltending still is with Kochetkov is a little bit of hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being polite about
Sure.
Kochetkov at this point. As somebody who was all in on Kochetkov just a year ago, I'm like, I don't know about this. Yeah, Brent Burns is older. He ain't getting any younger.
Yeah.
And Andrei Svechnikov, is he hurt? What's he dealing with? Can he step up? All these other things. So nothing about the Canes have changed. Just get to the damn playoffs, man.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not even a hockey fan, and I know enough to know that the Stanley Cup playoffs are the one more than any other. Home ice doesn't matter. It's all about, can you get hot for this series of weeks? And I don't think we even know the outlook for the Canes in the playoffs until we get through a couple of playoff games.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. So, folks, I'm not going to spend too much time on the Canes. We still don't have any sort of guidance on Alexander Nikishin.
You know what, folks? If you want to know about the Canes, Hockey Happy Hour tomorrow at Crank Arm Brew.
Look at you putting down
5 p.m.
Yet another promotional spot for Hockey Happy Hour. Sibian will have takes for sure.
Topics, stack it up. Giglio's roll back it up. Well, I know what we'll do. A lightning round.
Giglio is backing it up on the golf course today. I wonder if we can get Roback to officially sponsor Sperm Racing.
Oh, my God.
This is from KTLA 5 out in Los Angeles. The headline reads, Sperm Racing, a new sport is coming to Los Angeles. I like that. Coming to Los Angeles. All right. So
that took me a second. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So it's called the Sperm Racing League.
Uh-huh.
And in their manifesto, according to the story, it cites a worldwide decline in male fertility as a catalyst for the idea.
So this is a Joe Rogan thing.
Yeah, male fertility is declining like a lot, the manifesto states. It's happening quietly, steadily, and nobody's really talking about it. Thus, to raise awareness for the alarming trend, the founders are turning health into a sport. So they're going to have all sorts of microscopic cameras, fake racetracks. They'll have the sperm ready to go, quote, a microscopic racetrack for the 2 sperm samples to compete on what will be constructed. The course mimics reproductive systems and includes chemical signals, fluid dynamics, and synchronized starts.
What will be
every move that the sperm makes is tracked by a high-resolution camera and live stream. There will be stats, leaderboards, and yes, instant replays.
All right, look, for those of you listening in the car, if you have kids with you, turn it down, not away. Down, not away. This is an event that is going to start, Joe, again, down, never away if there are children in the car. It's going to start with 2 dudes beating off. I mean, Jesus Christ. Tell me I'm wrong. It'll start with somebody up above the course, I guess, yelling, gentlemen, jizz your pants, and off we go.
I didn't know that was the direction it was going to go. I mean,
how did you not know that's the direction it's going to go?
But isn't this, why don't you just do some old games like that involve the cracker? You know
Seriously,
what I'm saying?
I mean,
might as well put that on a live stream and bet. Just saying.
That's the thing that, like, are people really going to bet on this?
Yes.
I mean, I know they will.
Yes,
I
they
mean,
will bet
like,
on this.
oh my God. Joe, as a country, we have lost the plot.
Hey,
it went way before Donald Trump became president. We lost it, man. Any country that gets to, you know what? We should bet on cum. Like, we clearly are not a serious country anymore.
Some of you never got to experience the wonders of life of Pavilion at Epcot. Some of you never watched The Making of Me, which had this very concept of sperm racing to fertilize an egg and some missing the egg and then the one lucky sperm making it happen. Some of y'all never watched that. You never sat there with your parents watching this as a kid, but you learned a lot.
Right. Never had your mother decide, well, this is enough. I don't need to have the talk with him.
I almost feel we should stop on that one, but no, real quick.
We need a palate cleanser.
We do need a palate cleanser. So let's talk about McAfee, who you know is going to be talking about that today.
Oh my God. It's going to be his whole show today.
The whole show today is talking about sperm racing. So Pat McAfee and Barstool are walking back their Ole Miss story for their references, but they're doing this in different ways. I guess Barstool is doing this because they actually named people with this salacious story, the rumors that were happening at Ole Miss, whereas all McAfee did was make reference to things that were happening at Ole Miss with unnamed students and dads and everything else, which of course that leads people to go do the searches. And everything else.
But he did say exactly what the rumors were about this girl and her boyfriend's father. And if you give all the details without the name, I'm not sure how that's any different than giving the name.
Well, that's the key difference. And I think I want to focus on McAfee with this because since the last time we did OG on Biz, we did talk about McAfee a little bit, but this was before the big night out, right? Which is big, I guess, coming home, Pittsburgh, fell out on arena. It's impressive that he's able to do this.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong. But then I'm guessing people show up to this thing expecting a good time, and it ends up becoming Pat McAfee doing a monologue about how he's aggrieved.
And it's like, real quick, because you are a little more plugged into pop culture than I am.
Yes.
Who is Jelly Roll?
Oh, he's basically he is country Post Malone.
I thought Post Malone had become country.
But this guy did it before Post Malone.
Okay.
So Post Malone saw where the trends were going.
Right.
And he decided to get in on the country thing, like a lot of other acts.
Sure.
Like Beyonce did this, for heaven's sake.
Sure.
But Jelly Roll was
I
country.
believe Jessica Simpson did this first.
Probably. Jelly Roll is, he's got the tats. He's a big dude. He sings like pop country tunes, but they've got a little bit of a rough edge to him. Not in like the, it's not outlaw country.
Sure. How could it be?
It can't be, but maybe it's more of a pop sensed outlaw country, if that makes sense.
I thought that is what we were selling with. Oh shit. What was the name of that band? Florida
Georgia Line.
Yes.
This guy's even more pop centric.
Okay.
Because there is so this is why I say it's kind of like a Post Malone Jelly Roll. There is as country has become, Chuck Klosterman wrote about this in the 90s book, that Garth Brooks ushered in the era where rock withered and Garth Brooks took all the showmanship of 80s hair metal and applied it to country, and that country became what you would consider rock stars as rock stars went underground. Okay. And now country is looking for the next appropriation. They did it with rock. They became the rock stars. Well, now what are the youths into? Well, what are they influenced by? Well, they're influenced by hip hop culture. So you've seen a shift in some country acts that have adopted a lot of hip hop aspects, looks, coding, and that's where Jelly Roll comes in.
Okay.
He like blends. He's Bubba Sparks without the actual beats.
Okay.
Because remember, Bubba Sparks tried to do that.
Because the videos I saw of this big night out, aside from Pat McAfee being sure the world is out to get him, he seemed more excited Jelly Roll was there than anything else. And I just kept looking at this guy going, I know I've seen him, or maybe I think I've seen him because I've seen Post Malone.
Yeah.
It just feels like we're making up fat dudes with tattoos at this point.
Well, I can't tell you the difference between Post Malone, Benson Boone.
Oh, he's just like a skinny little twink fella.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. What I'm saying is like, man, you're really on it today. No, I'm talking about when I hear the songs.
Oh, sure.
I can identify who they are.
Yeah,
but when I hear the songs, I can't tell you the difference between any of these guys.
Yeah.
They all just kind of have a similar sound to them. And I'm always like, oh, so that's the dude who does that song. And oh, that's the dude who does that song.
Right.
But if you told me if you played a song for me, I'd be like, man, it could be any four of these guys. And I would be like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, thing about McAfee, the reason why I ultimately brought it up, I guess the Aaron Rodgers Pittsburgh Steelers thing isn't happening. Because remember, that was the big rumor.
Yeah.
That they were holding off. And then Aaron Rodgers was going to show up at this thing and he was going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. I guess it didn't happen.
I guess not.
I got no payoff.
The Steelers are hard for me to make sense of because they just like the longer we go down the road with this Tomlin thing, sorry.
Yeah.
The more they just sort of seem like a cheap franchise that doesn't want to make a big move. And I don't know how big of a move Aaron Rodgers was, but my point is the showmanship of announcing this on stage with McAfee doesn't seem like something the Steelers are going to put the effort into. So I never really thought that's what was going to happen.
It never had to be about the Steelers. It just it had to be singularly about Aaron Rodgers and his relationship with McAfee.
That's fair.
So the Steelers don't have to have any participation in this.
Yeah.
It's the individual doing the thing. But maybe they understood that Aaron Rodgers was going to make this about himself, and maybe that's it's not cheapness on the fact on the part of the Steelers.
We'll get the deal done next week.
It's more along the lines of like, dude, we're going to do this, but we're going to do it on your terms.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the case. It also kind of shows you how desperate the Steelers are and how badly they've handled their quarterback situation that we're still talking about this on April 14th.
Yes.
Big thanks to the Butcher's Market. Check them out online at thebutchersmarket.com. You can get yourself primed and ready for the Canes playoffs. You know you're going to tailgate, so you might as well get all the goods at the Butcher's Market. Everything from prepared burgers, dogs, chicken, or if you're just looking for the right pork butt to smoke, you're
Joe,
good to go.
You are leaving out the fact that like you could get from literally appetizer all the way to dessert.
It's amazing
at the Butcher's Market.
Sauces too.
Yes.
And they got really good sauce. I would also say they got really good tortilla chips as well. They're a little up there in terms of the price, but they're worth it. They're delicious tortilla chips. They got everything you need at the Butcher's Market. So check them out. And we thank them for sponsoring the OG Mailbag and, of course, OG Live. We will be live sometime next week at the Breeze Through there by Lenovo Center. We're going to do a little block party once we get these, we get the schedule set for the playoffs. In the meantime, if you're thinking about your tailgating, drop on by that location. They got a beer cave. They got all your snacks, all that kind of stuff that you need. So head on over to Breeze Through, download the app, and find ways to save money. And of course, our friends at Happy and Hail, because we will be taking a lot of hockey breaks once we get into the postseason.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hail.
Thanks to the listeners who have been using the promo code on the app. Download the Happy and Hail app today. Use that promo code OG25. You'll get 25% off one time at Happy and Hail. Now, take a screen grab of that. Send it to us. You'll be in the running for the black metal card. We actually gave one away today.
They interrupted our recording session.
Well, it was worth it.
No, for sure.
To give it away. It's good stuff. You know, since you don't have hair on your head, the Happy and Hail logo really pops on your shiny forehead.
Listen,
maybe I should try that. Maybe I should try that. So take a screen grab of using the app, send it to us, the oggoesdigital@gmail.com, or you can send it to us on Instagram, whatever it might be, and you'll be in the running for a black card, which gives you 20% off for life.
I just want to make that sound one more time.
Don't mess up the mics.
No, sorry.
It's okay.
It's Giglio's.
I guess I got an auxiliary one over here. Let's get out of here with some Hey Joe. This actually came to us from social media, and it was accusing me of being like Jim Rome, in that I take a lot of vacation because I get a lot of vacation.
Right.
No, I went on spring break, and then I found myself in a situation where I had to chaperone my 17-year-old's indoor percussion trip to Dayton, Ohio.
You know, American workers, please divorce yourself from this guilt that the man makes you feel. Joe Ovies did not take a vacation. Joe Ovies was being a parent.
Yes, there's a difference. Also, if we're going to do a 1-for-1 at this point,
sure.
At the old place, yes, you could call me Jim Rome. I take a lot of vacation because I get a lot of vacation. I had maxed out my time at the company, meaning that I got the maximum amount of PTO. And it was
also you got fired.
Well,
maxed out your time.
Well, there was that too. Yes, it's a good way of putting it. So it was a use it or lose it situation.
Right.
So yeah, man, I'm going to take my damn vacation.
Yeah.
All right.
Who could blame you? Apparently the listeners.
This one's more like Stugatz, where there is no PTO plan as a part of OG Triangle Media LLC.
Right.
We just take the time off when we got to take the time off. Now, we're judicious about this. I think Stugatz is now at the point where he only works maybe 5 months out of the year.
I don't really know anymore.
When is he on that show?
I would have to listen to the show to find out.
Oh, the only reason why I know is that anytime I log into Reddit, the Levitard subreddit, like, is apoplectic about Stugatz, like, having not been on the show, and they track him. They're like, oh, he must have golfed this week, or oh, he was in Vegas watching a Dead show, or something like that.
Man,
and like, they're really tracking where he is at all times.
Awesome to have fan dedication like that.
It's I wish. I mean, we have some instances of that.
Honestly, for the boys, I give them the dates of live shows and anything else. Who cares when they're here and when they're not?
It's a good point.
You're not paying for the thing.
Now, we'll say this. Maybe I have a
I guess some of you.
Maybe I have a Hey Joe question for you on this one. You can help me answer this. I've spent a lot of time around the Utes as of late.
Sure.
Between being a team manager for Jacob's hockey team, we're now doing this chaperoning for a high school indoor percussion. And the kids did well. Really, really proud of what the Enlo group was able to do. They made semifinals. That's the first time a North Carolina indoor percussion group has made semifinals at this World Championships in 10 years. So
now where are the semifinals?
So it's all there. So
it's all
you
there.
do the prelims, you make it semifinals, and
Gotcha.
you make the finals. So they were a group that made it for the first time out of North Carolina in the last 10 years. So really, really proud of what they're able to do. But, sometimes you worry about the Utes of today, and then you spend some time with them and you go, you know what, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Except one thing. Music. And, I tried. I think I'm not going to make them listen to my stuff. Usually I'd say, all right, so what are you all listening to? Right. But this gets back to the prom conversation. So Caleb just had prom at Enlo, and I asked him, so what gets played at prom in 2025?
Oh, man, I had thought, what does get played at prom in 2025?
I mean, you're going to play, it's about the DJ set, the beat switches, probably, rap, some electronic music.
So no
whatever.
one's doing live band anymore, huh?
There was a jazz, the jazz ensemble had a lounge section to kind of break things up.
Okay.
Right? So shout out to Eli and all them for doing the jazz stuff. But I asked him, Leanne's losing it. What do you slow dance to?
Okay.
Because who's making slow jams in 2025?
Good point.
Think about this. And he's like, there are no slow jams.
Yeah.
None of that stuff happens. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, that's not a real cool high school rite of passage that you're missing.
Seriously.
Who's making slow jams? That might explain why we find ourselves doing sperm races.
It's that Teddy Swims character, right?
Is he making slow jams?
I mean, he seems like
who's out there doing Shy? Who's doing End of the Road? Who's doing that? The stuff that it doesn't exist. There's no market for it anymore.
That's a very good point, because I wonder now, my kids' intellectual curiosity about 90s music is about I took my son to see Green Day, so he's all about Green Day. My daughter knows I like Soundgarden, so she got into she started listening to and now like Soundgarden.
Yeah.
I don't think they had, and it's because they can pick out whatever they want. They're not a slave to what the radio plays next, right? I don't think they have the curiosity to know enough about at my prom, I don't know why I remember this. They played Unchained Melody.
Yeah.
A 40-year-old song.
Yeah.
Because man, it's a good slow dance
It's
song.
a great slow dance song.
Right? It's hard not to get the feelings pumping.
But are they playing Color Me Bad's I Adore Me More?
Exactly
they're not doing that.
To say. I don't know. Are we putting on I'll Make Love to You? I don't think we are.
Where's Jodeci?
Yeah.
I need a little come and talk to me. That's right. That music doesn't exist. And I don't bring this up in a kids today don't make the good music. It's more what fills that void?
Yeah.
Because you still have rock bands.
Do you think this is a product of kids not being intellectually curious enough to go searching for that? Or do you think it is a product of where the music industry is, of where it's you're not going to make money off of this, off of Spotify.
That's what it is.
You've got to be big enough to tour, stadiums to make real touring money. Everything's got to be in a Tax Act commercial.
So I would say that it's about Spotify and making the most amount of music. And it's not just electronic delivery, because remember the iTunes store existed 20 years ago, and you could make money off of singles that way, $1.50 or whatever it was. But think about it. If there was a slow song, you wanted to put it on a mixtape for a special somebody, you'd buy the single or the 45 before that.
Right.
None of that stuff exists anymore. So in order to get you continuously listening to an artist, then yes, it's a Spotify thing, and what plays and what's the algorithm serving up, and the taste change. I mean, even prom is different now too, right? Like I said, Caleb was the only old school one with an actual corsage.
Oh, sure.
That kind of stuff. So I didn't really see any of that stuff. So I mean, again,
what did you go to his prom?
No, we had to do photos and stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, we went to the Arboretum and did photos.
Yeah.
But you think I wasn't going to take photos?
Well, no, I knew you were going to take photos. I was just, when you
I didn't go.
Saying you didn't see this, I was wondering, where were they?
No, it was more looking around at the Arboretum, which was a zoo,
of course,
on Saturday while everybody was taking prom photos. And also through social media.
Yeah.
All your parent friends are posting their kids at their proms and things like that, or their prom photos. And you're seeing a lot of the stuff that just doesn't exist anymore.
By the way, parents posting your kids' prom photos, that's fucking weird.
In what sense?
Here's a picture of my son before he has sex tonight.
You act as though your parents weren't showing the Polaroids to other parents.
My parents were not.
No?
No, my parents don't like me very much.
Oh, okay. I see. Well, you know what? That just speaks to a larger problem, Dimitri.
It really does.
or maybe they weren't confident you were going to.
I think, honestly, that's what
That's
it was.
probably what it was.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, he has a shot. That's probably what it was. Probably what it was.
Yeah. Like, we don't recognize this girl. This is clearly a pity date.
Your parents are like, he's not handsome.
No. Yeah. My parents were like,
so why am I going to show this off?
Yeah. My parents saw my date for prom and they would look at like the disparity of attractiveness and go, well, clearly he couldn't find a date and she must have just gotten dumped. Like that's the only way this happened.
Why are you describing my junior year prom?
Oh, is that what happened to you junior year prom?
Yeah, junior year prom was somebody I know for a long time. They had just broken up.
Yeah.
Her and this guy just broken up. And I was dropping her off somewhere. And we had just gotten a conversation about, I don't know. I just went, but you want to go to prom with me? And she goes, sure.
Yeah.
It was a total just like, hey man, I got a date. You just broke up. And then sure enough, what ended up happening was, true story, this actually was a domino effect. And then like, oh, wait a minute. This guy was thought like, oh, she's never going to get over me, blah, 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 blah. She's like, oh, you got a date already? And he got mad. I say, hey, buddy, snooze, you lose. Snooze, you lose. Let's go to the OG sports phone, shall we?
919-444-2211. Call the OG sports phone and curse or don't.
Of course, the OG sports phone is brought to you by Nature's Relief. Check them out at naturesreliefhempstore.com, RELEAF hempstore.com. Let's go to a 704 number, shall we?
The big city.
Yes, indeed.
Hey guys, it's Paul. Well, portal season is in full swing. Hubert Davis has his ass on the line, and he told Jim Tanner, I need two things. I need size, and I need shooting. Well, Carolina has 4 portal commitments, and has sneakily put together maybe the best portal class in the country. And guess what? They got bigger at every position, and they got better at shooting the 3 at every position. I'd say the portal class well done. Good work from Jim Tanner on his first go-round. I mean, on paper, this might be Hubert Davis's best and deepest team. And, you know, I mean, he won the ACC regular season and got to the Sweet 16 with the year 3 crew. But I mean, this team is better than that team if it all gels together. And love that Hubert, because Hubert last year took the little Carolina moniker a bit too seriously and ran out the Munchkin 5. That is not going to be a problem this year. In fact, with Jaron Stevenson, they could run the lineup out there that looks like Kyan Evans, 6'2", and then have Drake Powell play the 2 and have Jaron Stevenson play the 3 and just go super, super mega huge. So, Carolina's back.
I hope Jaron Stevenson is better at Carolina than he was at Alabama. I mean, he wasn't bad at Alabama.
He was fine at Alabama.
Yeah, but people just sort of kept waiting for him to be the superstar. I mean, it was a no-brainer, right? Like, he went into the portal with a no contact. Both of his parents are former Tar Heels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, Hubert needs it. Hubert needs it all to hit.
So I will say this. If you understand what the assignment is, you got to get bigger. Go out and do it.
For sure.
If you swung and missed at a guy who was considering you and now you have an opportunity to bring him home, so to speak, I can see why this also plays into why people are hype about this kind of stuff. But since Giglio's not here, I got to say the line. It's the Bart Simpson meme. Everybody looks back at Bart and says, say the line, say the line. It's a year-to-year proposition.
Right.
The question will be, now that you've got all these pieces, how do you make them fit?
Right.
Also, I'm noticing, the 4, he mentions the 2. Who's going to run point?
Mm-hmm.
That's another issue as well. So again, some of these things will get figured out because the portal is still ongoing. But I saw this. You've seen this at other places. I've seen it at Carolina, where you're optimistic about the portal pieces you're putting together, but can they work? How do you integrate too the freshmen that are coming in as well? And there is some question as to how Hubert Davis juggled the lineup earlier this year. What was Ian Jackson's development? All these are the things that kind of played in. But in terms of understanding what you needed to do in the portal, much like John Shire understood what he needed to do to get pieces around Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple and Malwatch. Yeah, I think Hubert's doing that here too. But now you got to make it fit.
I do think that, and this is true of probably every sport, certainly football and basketball, since the portal came into being. There are so many more guys in the portal than there are spots for on these other teams. I don't think it is hard to find the physical traits you need in the portal. It is, to your point, how do you make it all fit? How do you bring out whatever was missing at the last spot to make the investment worth it?
All right, one more from a 252.
Hey, Joes. Hope you guys had a good week. I was down in Emerald Isle having a nice spring break. Just catching up on a few things since coming back. I don't know that y'all talk about this a whole lot on the show. Usually you let the women's college basketball podcast cover this kind of stuff. But just wanted to call out the ACC moving the women's conference tournament down to the greater Atlanta area, aka Duluth, Georgia. As someone who's gone to the conference tournament with my daughters the last, 3 or 4 years maybe, it's just really disappointing and just feels like the conference just doesn't quite understand their fan base or their target audience. So I just can't imagine the attendance being quite what it was, especially when, if you know anything about Duluth, it may be 30 miles from Atlanta, but that's not 30 minutes from Atlanta. So I just feel like it's a bad move, and I get it. They got to move it around some, and that's cool and all, but, you know, Charlotte would have been a better option, DC a better option. I know it probably comes down to who put in bids for it and who's paying, you know, which towns want to submit, like, good bids for that makes it enticing for the ACC to want to host it there. But I can just envision a championship day on Sunday where it's just not very well attended, and that's just super disappointing. I don't know if y'all have ever been to a women's ACC tournament, but you know, while it's not the men's tournament, it's a whole lot of fun. I mean, my daughters always want to go every year. They put on a great event. It's just a really, really well done event in Greensboro. So just super disappointing. Hoping that would love to hear y'all's take on it. And yeah, hope you guys have a good week. Thanks. Bye.
Carson, who is the ACC's senior associate commissioner for women's basketball, talked to Mitch Northam on the women's basketball podcast, and this was before anything was settled.
Yeah.
But she said, and look, this could be corporate speak, but she said the moment that the ACC decided to make the 2026 tournament available, there was interest from places further away than they expected. Like, they saw the opportunity to really take the chance and grow the footprint. I mean, I agree. Like, DC would have made a little bit more sense.
DC
I think they
always makes the most amount of sense for an ACC tournament, regardless of men or women.
I think they are going to Charlotte in 27.
I don't have it in front of me. I think the shiny object is they're going to Duluth, which is just outside of Georgia. I had to remind myself where exactly Duluth was. And there are things to do, including the Southeastern Railway Museum.
It's a pretty built-up suburb. That arena is a cool arena. I saw Audio Slave there years ago, like when it first opened.
TPC Sugarloaf is right around the corner.
There you go. I don't hate this. I get the concern, but I think the idea that the ACC does not know its fan base, I think you are thinking of the fan base in 1999.
Yeah.
Not in 2025.
Yeah, and I have to remind myself of that too when we talk about the men's side of things. What the fan base is and what they're trying to accomplish. And I think some people have had to realize that in terms of what markets they go to. I think they learned the lesson that Brooklyn, New York in general is something that sponsors might like. But in general,
that's not where your fans are.
That's not where your fans are. Yeah, you can. It's easier for some Notre Dame fans because everybody's in New York, right? But it's not what you thought it was going to be. And I don't see them going back to Brooklyn. But DC, that's where your fans are. Maybe Atlanta, you got some ACC fans down there. Maybe they do. But honestly, when it comes to these tournaments, just hold them in North Carolina.
I guess the gamble here is the women's programs that have inspired some fandom outside of, oh, there's a women's game, it's free, I'll go. I mean, they're all in North Carolina and then Notre Dame and Louisville.
Yeah.
So it is kind of it's a gamble. It's a gamble, but I don't think it's one you cannot, I don't think it's one you avoid in 2025.
It's not like they're going to Dayton, Ohio.
Right.
Okay.
That's 2028.
It was sleeting in Dayton, man.
Good God.
Yeah, dude. They do that arena's nice. They do a great job for the NCAA tournament, but I'm just like, went to a couple breweries that were okay.
There were some places when I was a kid.
There's too many Skyline Chili's around.
Oh, God.
I will say this, though, and I mentioned this we'll close on this. We'll get you out of here on this, as Giglio likes to do.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what it's like to be in an area where bourbon is readily available.
Oh, sure.
And they're not dealing with ABC allocations and the price markup that goes along with it. So this was on the OG mailbag, which was subscriber only. So I'll just tell this now real quick. So me and another band dad, Dan, ended up at this steak joint called the Oakwood Club, which was like 10 minutes away from University of Dayton Arena. And they had Weller Special Reserve available. I'm like, cool, I'll get that. And I asked for a 2-ounce poured neat, and the waiter brings back a substantial pour, more than 2 ounces. And she says to me and Dan, he got a new riff. And she says to me and Dan, well, for the prices we're charging, we're going to give you a pour. And I'm thinking, if you hear that, what do you think?
That sounds like they are, I don't know. What should I think?
It's going to be a lot more expensive than you think.
Right,
I'm like, oh, geez, it's going to cost me $40 for this
That's
pour.
what I thought, but I don't know bourbon culture. So I'm
like, oh, geez, all right. And then again, I'm trained to think that.
Yeah,
This would be a $40 pour. Great, So we get the bill. I got a 10-ounce New York strip, 2 sides, and a bourbon. What do you think that went for?
I mean, Jesus, here that would be like $150,
right? $53.
Goddamn, we're all going to Ohio.
$53.
All right, I get what the Get Up kids were talking about.
I looked at the price of the Weller; it was $13 for a substantial pour. And I'm like, is this a typo? Like, do you think we're cute and you're giving us a discount? Like, what's going on here, right?
Oh man, don't ask that. Just set yourself up for disappointment.
Oh, I know. Trust me, that's my whole life. And she goes, no, that's what we charge. And of course, me and Dan are just like, yeah, see, we're from North Carolina, and that is not what we expected.
Right.
We thought you were going to charge us like $40. She's like, oh no, we got great prices here, all this other stuff. And then we looked at each other and I looked at Dan, he looked at me, I looked at my watch, and I went, well, we don't have to be back at Dayton for like another hour and a half. You want to get another one? That $13, I feel obligated that I have to get another one. And that's what we did. And we had a good time. So yeah, if there's one thing Dayton's got going for it, great steak spot and cheap bourbon.
And there is one thing Dayton's got going for it.
That'll wrap it up. We will see you tomorrow for Hockey Happy Hour.
To call 5 o'clock at Crank Car.
See you then.